Welcome back to Recruiting Blitz. My name's Tim Verghese. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Before we get started, be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and be sure to check out our work over at InsideNebraska.com as well. The season is here. Nebraska kicks off on Thursday at Arrowhead Stadium against Cincinnati, and we're in the thick of it. So be sure to check out our work over at InsideNebraska.com. We've got intel coming out of fall camp. We have recruiting intel, of course, as Nebraska gears up for their first home opener in just over 2 weeks. Um, just under 2 weeks against Akron, and we're expecting a sizable group of visitors for that game. Michigan later in September. That's going to be another big visit weekend for Nebraska. So we're here. We're in the thick of the season. We're really excited to get going over at InsideNebraska.com and over at the YouTube channel as well. So today, with the season started, just kind of wanted to touch on some of Nebraska's commits in the 26 and 27 class, and specifically guys with the most to prove. Senior year evaluations are some of the most important evaluations for our scouts here at On Three or at Rivals. And scouts nationally, everyone kind of looks at the senior year as like the culmination of, okay, 3 years of development and kind of this like kind of last body of work before these guys head off for college. So it's important for a lot of Nebraska commits, a lot of Nebraska targets. With the chance to one, improve their ranking, of course, but also just get ready for their time in Nebraska. For me personally, rankings don't really matter. These guys are committed. Nebraska wants these guys for a reason. I look across this and I see, the commits, and I see where each of these guys can fit, but I also see, hey, this guy probably needs to work on this. This, want to see more improvement here. Just little tweaks, little improvements to their game before they get to Nebraska, to best position themselves for potentially early playing time, or best position themselves to find a positional home. So I'm going to get right into it. Touch on the 26 class first, and then we'll touch on both the Nebraska's 27 commits. But in the 26 class, I think Nebraska's second highest commit, Claude Mpouma, is a guy with maybe the most to prove of any commits. This is his second year. He's entering the second year. Playing football now at Mount Carmel High School in Chicago. He played at Phillips Academy last year. Mount Carmel program more known for offensive and defensive line development, have produced power four talent over the years, and he's a guy that again is relatively football young and has some work to do from a technique standpoint. I thought last year what we really liked about Puma, and what kind of saw him rise up to 4-star status, with 20 plus offers, and with some of the top power four programs in the mix, was this combination of size and athleticism. You can't teach 6'8". You can't teach kind of the way he moves at that size. His basketball background really evident in the way he plays, just his lateral quickness and agility, and just generally how well he's able to change directions for his size. I think just you can credit that to his basketball background. He grew up playing soccer, but blew up as a result of that. And then you watch him in pass pro, you could see the technique isn't all there. Obviously, it's year one of him playing the position. That's a technique that takes time to sharpen, takes time to figure out. So that's something that is for sure a work in progress. With Impuma, we're looking for a little more improvement, a little more consistency as a pass protector. Also looking for more aggression from Impuma. I think that was something that was a little spotty in his junior film. Something we want to see a little more. I know talking to Cody Belair a couple of weeks ago from the Rivals national scouting team. He mentioned that as well. Something he's looking for this year is just an aggressive streak to Mpuma's game, kind of willing to finish out blocks through the ground, willing to punish people. Obviously, he's got the strength and the athleticism and the general frame to kind of handle himself against high school competition. But does he have that aggressive streak to finish blocks, to play through the whistle? To kind of really get in there, you kind of need that aggression. You need that aggression from an offensive tackle, and you can't really teach it. So it's something that you're hoping he kind of picks up, or really starts to put together before he gets to Nebraska. Because that's something I think for him we're looking for, and he's a guy that I think of any commit in this class has the chance to make the biggest rise. He's in 4-star territory right now, has a chance to potentially rise into the top 50 and potentially even challenge for a fifth star with a strong senior season. Because he's a guy that, again, has the NFL um, athleticism, has NFL of NFL frame. I mean, he has everything you're really looking for. It really is just kind of waiting for the technique to come along and catch up, and make sure he can play the position at a high level consistently, snap to snap. So he's one that I'm very excited to see what he does. as a senior out there at Mount Carmel. Nayland Scott, Nebraska's top wide receiver commit out of Georgia. He's going to miss a good bit of time to start the year, a couple games to start the year due to just a lingering injury. And but when he's back, I'm looking for a little more production, a little more elusiveness after the catch. I think for him, I think he's answered a lot of what he's more polished than you expect for a high school wide receiver prospect, just in terms of his route running ability, his ability to go up and get it. Just the way he carries himself. He's a really good route runner, really has a really strong knack for kind of these 50-50 balls, contested catch situations. And so he does that stuff well, but looking for a little more from him after the catch, looking for a little more from him, can they dial up some screens for him and can he do some things after the catch? Production was a bit limited last year due to shaky quarterback play, had just around 500 receiving yards. Looking for a little more there as well this fall. Depending on when he gets back from injury. Of course, I think his numbers are going to be limited because of the games he's missing. But I think just game to game, I'm looking for a little more production. And he's a top weapon for a McEachern team that has seen 2028 playmaker and Casey Barner rise. Barner's a Nebraska target, visited over the summer. Big fan of the program that Matt Rule is building. Big fan of Addison Williams, but a guy that's been doing it all for McEachern this year. Scott comes in and when he's healthy again, will be their top receiver once he's back healthy. I think further down, you look down Nebraska's commit list. Jamal Rule, another one I'm really excited to see what he does as a senior out there at Charlotte Christian. Guy Nebraska secured in June, and now he's kind of gearing up for a senior year, looking for a productive season. He ran for over 1,200 yards last year and 15 touchdowns. So no real like production questions with him. I don't think that's like really anything I'm looking for there. I'm really just with him looking for just improvement as a pass protector and improvement as a receiver. He had just under um 125 receiving yards last fall, had just around 12. I think 12 receptions is the number. Let me check. Yeah, 12 receptions is just how many he had as a junior. And so as a senior, you're looking for that number, both those numbers to go up a little bit. Would like to see him closer to the 250 ish yardage range as a receiver, a little more catches out of the backfield, and also want to see some reps of him as a pass protector. Kind of that's something that in Dana Holgerson's offense being coached by EJ Bartel, it's going to be important for him to see the field. He's going to have to be, steady as a pass protector, has to be able to catch in the backfield. I think that's something that's still unproven in his game. Not to say he can't do it. I think it's just unproven that he can do it at a high level. So excited to see what he does as a senior. I know he's got high goals for himself in a Charlotte Christian team. They're gunning for a state championship. After rushing for 1,200 yards, he's pushing for potentially 2,000 as a senior. So excited to see what he ends up doing this fall out in Charlotte. In-state, Nebraska holds one in-state commit in Jace Reynolds, the linebacker out of Elkhorn North. I'm really excited to see Jace this season. I'm planning to be out at least one game, potentially multiple, out to see him at Elkhorn North. Really just, again, looking for him to kind of settle in somewhere from a position standpoint. He's a guy that can play edge, can play true inside linebacker. There was a point in time where people thought he may be a better fit at like a rover or like an overhang safety. And so I just want to see where he's at as a senior. I think he's a guy that could play edge. Jack in Nebraska's scheme could play inside linebacker. I think he's for sure at this point a fit in the linebacker room more so than like a hybrid linebacker slash safety. But I think that positional versatility is still something that I obviously want to see, but I also want to see him kind of settle in to a role, whether it's seeing the field better from inside, whether it's kind of developing as a pass rusher off the edge. Just want to see further development, further comfort in whatever role he's playing for Elkhorn North this year, and just comfort in his general role. I think he's a guy that has an opportunity to kind of outplay his ranking as well. I do think he's a guy that it's kind of underlooked when we talk about the in-state talent and Nebraska likes him for his multi-sport athleticism. I think his sophomore year tape and junior year tape, there's some encouraging flashes. Really just again looking for him to put it together, step up as a leader in his senior year. It's a talented Elkhorn North team that I think is gonna potentially challenge for a state title or at least challenge, to kind of make a deep playoff run. And so looking for him to take some control and kind of lead his team to some success this season. Further down the list, Luke Sorenson, Nebraska's tight end commit out of Anaheim Servite, playing in the Trinity League. We've touched plenty on the Trinity League here. If you're unfamiliar, it's arguably the toughest district of football at the high school level. You'll find it's where TJ Lateef played. It's where Mater Day, St. John Bosco play. Anaheim Servite produced Ted McMillan. They've produced Noah Fafita, who's out there at Arizona. I hope I'm saying his last name right. Mason Graham played at Servite. Obviously, Matter Day has had, so many play. Amon Ross St. Brown and Chris Henry Jr. currently. Bryce Young played at Matter Day, and Bosco had DJU and DJU's little brother, and all this different talent over the years. Prospect factories. Year in and year out. And so it's the toughest league by far, year in and year out. And Sorensen is going to be kind of the weapon for Servite's offense. He had limited production last year due to up and down quarterback play. They really relied on the run game last year, and he really saw his recruitment take off because of his effort and his technique as a blocker. Schools really liked what they saw from him, his general frame, what he can do after the catch as well in the limited glimpses we saw of that. So now as a senior, as kind of a featured weapon in his offense, you want to see more. You want to see more. He had again just around 183 receiving yards last year. That's not very much. And so you're looking for more. You're looking for more improvement in terms of his yards per catch. You're looking in total numbers to improve. You're looking for him to be utilized more as a weapon in the red zone. He's going to be a feature weapon for Servite. It sounds like they're going to kind of build the offense around him and his skill set. Obviously, he's going to be a lead blocker in the run game, but also be a weapon as a receiver. So really just looking for him to put together a strong senior year, help Servite to some success, and just kind of show what he's capable of in Nebraska's offense. Nebraska sees him as a do-it-all weapon, a guy that they can kind of feature in an offense, kind of the ultimate, they have an idea of what they want to do with Heinrich Harburg and Carter Nelson and Luke Lindenmeyer this year. Moving forward, they want guys that can kind of fit that role early on and play that role early on and potentially even grow into a bigger role. Sorensen's a guy that was recruited to Penn State in the Tyler Warren type role. Tyler Warren, of course, at Penn State last year was kind of the featured weapon for the Nittany Lions. Can Sorensen potentially be a version of that for Servite and potentially down the line at Nebraska? That's what I'm really looking for this season from him. And then Hayden Ainsworth, Nebraska's offensive line commit out of Mississippi, Ainsworth, Mississippi, Biloxi, Mississippi. He's a guy that is skipped a grade. He reclassified from the 27 class up to 2026, and so instead of this being his junior season, it's going to be his senior year. He has pretty extensive starting experience compared to most um, what should be 2027 offensive linemen. So I don't think there's really a question of experience here. I think he has that under his belt. I think generally the technique is where you want it to be. But you're really just looking for mastery of the position as a senior. You're looking for him to, as a senior, he was a 4-star in the 27 cycle. As part of the reclassification, got bumped down, is now a 3-star. Can he potentially contend for that 4th star again? Can he show kind of mastery of the position, the versatility to play inside and out? I really want to see kind of a little more sharper technique from him. Looking for, a little more athleticism, a little more polish for him as a senior because he's skipping his essentially his junior season. The senior year eval is all the more important for someone like Ainsworth. So really looking for improvement from him. Ideally, I'd like to see him potentially earn a late invite to one of the All-American games, whether it's the Navy All-American game in San Antonio or the Under Armour All-American game in Orlando. I'd like to see him in one in that setting at the end of the year, especially because he's reclassifying. But I don't know if that'll end up happening. But kind of that's what I'd like to see, just in general improvement, potentially kind of make it contend for an invite to one of those games, and yeah, just kind of put it all together. I'm really excited to see what Hayden does this year down there in Mississippi before he gets up to Nebraska. I know Nebraska's excited about him, what he's potentially capable of, and he's a guy that there's no real rush on him needing to be ready early in his Nebraska career, but it wouldn't hurt if he's kind of ready to go by the time he enrolls on campus. And then to close things out, just with the 26 class. Dayton Raiola's senior year is already underway at Buford. He's flashed. He's been in the spotlight already. Kind of helped Buford beat Milton. They played Benedictine down there in Georgia this past weekend, and kind of seen some flashes from him so far. Really, what I wanted to see this year is a lot of what I wanted to see from Dylan as well this year. Just improvement creating outside. I was when the pocket breaks down, creating out of structure. I think we've seen that already from Dayton. Willing to use his legs, willing to kind of kind of turn broken plays into some chunks on the ground. Also kind of looking for kind of further mastery of his offense at Buford. I think at times last year, you saw the playbook was relatively small for him. I think it's a lot of creating off play action and precise throws. So looking for a little more mastery of the offense. I think we have started to see the playbook already open up for him a little bit through two games. Also, kind of looking for improved accuracy. I think that's something we've seen early on this year. Is he's a guy that is able to kind of hit those deep balls just like Dylan. I mean, Dylan obviously did it at a much higher clip and a much more consistent clip in high school. Than Dayton has so far, but you really started from Dylan in high school is being able to hit the deep ball consistently. Kind of struggled with that his freshman year at Nebraska. Looking for improvement from Dylan that in that area of his game as a sophomore. As for Dayton, looking for again similar things. Just I thought he's got a cannon for an arm. I think you can see he can really sling it downfield. Can the accuracy be sharper? Can he hit guys in stride? 30, 40 plus yards downfield. Is he able to kind of lead receivers on downfield, or is he just kind of throwing it up? Because the arm strength, there's no real question about it. But now it's about dialing it in and making sure the throws are on the money. So looking for improvement in that area of his game as his year continues to progress. And like I said, just mastery of the offense. He's quarterbacking one of the top teams in the state of Georgia. They're going to have a chance to contend for a state championship. It would be nice to see young Raiola potentially help lead his team to that accolade. And he's another one that there's no real pressure when he comes to Nebraska to play early. No real pressure on him to contend for playing time early. So he's got some time to come into Nebraska, sit and develop. But you'd like to see obviously some further development at the high school level as well. Turning to 27, I think both of Nebraska's 27 commits have something to prove. I think Trae Taylor, number five quarterback in the country right now, the battle for the top QB in the 27 cycle, I think is really open. I don't think there's a short list of guys. And if there is, Trey's on that short list. I don't think it's a short list necessarily. I think it depends on who you talk to. Some people see Teddy Gerard, the Notre Dame quarterback commit, as a top quarterback in the country. Some see Elijah Haven, quarterback out of Louisiana, as a top quarterback in the country. Colton Nussmeier, younger brother of Garrett Nussmeier, certainly has an argument as one of the top quarterbacks in the country. Trey, in my opinion, has an argument as a top quarterback in the country. There's a few names that can definitely state their case, make their case. And Trey entering his second kind of full season as a starter, and entering a year in which he's got a full offseason with his team. I've talked to Trey and his family a lot this offseason, and they talked about hope so much about last offseason. They were really just working on the recruitment. It was a lot of traveling out to camps, and a lot of June was spent on the road, getting out to schools, throwing in front of coaches, getting kind of further entrenched into their recruitment. This year, they only visited Nebraska, and when they weren't at Nebraska, they were working with their team out there at Carmel Catholic out there in the greater Chicago area. And so he's looking for kind of again further mastery in his game. Looking to kind of open up the offense a little bit. He said he's kind of going to implement some concepts from Nebraska's offense, from Dana Holgerson's offense in particular, to in order to kind of best prepare himself for his time at Nebraska. So I'm excited to see what that ends up looking like. He says he has some improved weapons. He's excited to get to work with those guys. They kick off this week against Grays Lake Central out there again in the greater Chicago area. So big junior year for him, has an opportunity to further establish himself as one of the top quarterbacks in the country and maybe even make a case for himself as the top quarterback, if not one of the top three quarterbacks in the country. I think scouts really like his frame, his upside, his just the general flashes he's had so far. Looking for more from him as a creator when kind of the pocket breaks down, when kind of plays break down, he has to create out of structure. looking for more consistency with his deep ball, looking for more consistency to just delivering across the field, and looking for improvement as a processor. I think that's something that he recognizes, something that he needs some work at, and is it did work on. He credits kind of he spent a lot of time with Dylan this offseason, learning how to process quicker, kind of learning from Dylan how to kind of read through plays, and so looking for improvement in all of that from him. And so we're excited to see Trey this season. Expecting kind of a big year from him. They have a tough schedule out there at Carmel Catholic, so it's not going to be easy for him. But there's going to be a lot of eyes, national evaluators, Nebraska fans, Nebraska coaches watching him this season. And then Nebraska's other 27 commit, top ranked in-state safety, Tory Pittman, the number one player in the state, number two safety in the country. Again, this is another year where in the latest 2027 rankings updates, he comes in as a top 20 player and the number two safety in the country. Can he solidify that position? Can he even make a case maybe for the number one safety in the country? He's had flashes of brilliance, in his career thus far. I've seen him in a couple games. I saw him in a couple games last year, seen him on the 7-on-7 circuit, seen him in practice. I've seen, kind of glimpses of like, oh yeah, this is an elite athlete. Obviously, he's an elite athlete, but this is an elite football player that can do it all. I think now that he's a junior and an upperclassman and has a few games at the varsity level under his belt, looking for dominance. I'm genuinely looking for dominance this year. I'm looking for, if you're a five-star, if you're the number two safety in the country, an elite athlete that plays both sides of the field and even, kind of contributes in special teams, you need to have an impact on wins. You need to be impacting your team's ability to win. You need to be the best player on the field if you are, you know, supposedly one of the best players in the country. I believe he is. I think he kind of deserves that ranking and has the kind of body of work thus far to justify that ranking. Can he continue to prove that as a junior, as a senior? Can he be dominant? You're looking for it. This is the best. This is the best player from a ranking standpoint to come out of the state in a very, very long time. Can he play like that? So I'm excited to see kind of can he live up to those expectations. There's going to be a lot more eyes on his junior year than there were on his sophomore season. They are going to play some of the top teams in the country. Week 2 or 3, I think they're matched up with Omaha North. He's going to be going up against Darian Jones and a talented Omaha North team. And so he'll be tested this year. I'm excited to see how he responds to those tests, how he kind of steps up. He's able to kind of take his team over the top. Central has the talent maybe to push for a deep playoff run. So yeah, a lot on the table for Tory Pittman this fall. I'm really excited to see kind of what he does with the opportunity, and he's a guy that again, like I said, is kind of in that top safety in the country conversation. I think he has a chance to kind of establish himself as one of the top safeties in the country and maybe even potentially shift that position designation from safety to athlete. I think he could contend for the number one athlete in the country with a strong junior season. Just really need to see him put it together this fall. So we'll see a lot of those guys this fall, either in person or virtually. We're really excited to really get into it. Excited about the season. It's here. So stay tuned to InsideNebraska.com for our coverage as the season kicks off. Stay tuned to the Inside Nebraska YouTube channel. Just quick programming note: we won't be back with an episode on Monday due to Labor Day, but we will be back on Tuesday with a fresh episode after Nebraska's season opener, and we'll be previewing Nebraska's visitor list for the Akron game. So stay tuned for that. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll be back next week.